Well, I was very wrong. So I watched the Nintendo Direct for Donkey Kong Bonanza, and initially I was not looking forward to this too much. When they showed it at the Switch 2 Direct a couple months back in April, it looked interesting. It looked kind of fun, but I wasn't really sold on it. Didn't really think much of it. So when they announced that there was going to be a Direct dedicated only to Donkey Kong, I wasn't that enthusiastic. Especially since the Mario Kart World Direct was not that incredible either. So I did not have high hopes for the Donkey Kong Bonanza. However, I will say that coming into this, I was not that excited for the game. However, now I am very excited for the game. So it has completely turned my opinion around 100% as to, what I initially thought versus what I think now. One of the most interesting things about the Direct showcase was, as we kind of already knew, there was a leak a few months ago, I think from the Korean branch of Nintendo, where they showed an image of Donkey Kong with Pauline on his back. And the very first thing that they did in this Direct was confirm that Pauline is in fact in this game. Prior to this, during the the Nintendo Treehouses and all that stuff, they showed the Little Rock character, but it is in fact not the Little Rock character. It is Pauline. I don't know how that's going to work or what that's going to be like. I'm sure there's tons of the story that we have not heard yet, but it seems like Donkey Kong is obsessed with getting a bunch of bananas, and Pauline is like a kid or something. She's like a little girl, and so you're like trying to get her home, and her home is like the surface of the planet, but there's like a whole bunch of like underground areas. Like you go deeper and deeper and deeper down into the planet, and that's how you're gonna get her home. I don't know. I'm assuming that cutscenes and the game will probably explain more of that as time goes on, but as of right now, that seems to sort of be the general plot, the general idea of this Direct. So the next thing that they wanted to talk about in the Direct was the destruction mechanics. That was really interesting to see. There's a whole bunch of tons of different moves and different kind of things you can do. I didn't really watch too much of the Treehouse back in the day when they were demoing it for the audience, because it seems like they were holding a lot of stuff back, that they weren't going to show us 100% of what was going on. They just kind of showed you punching through the ground, and I was like, oh, is this going to be like a thing kind of like, I don't know, like with Minecraft, where you punch through random areas of the ground and eventually you'll find things, and it's like I don't know, you're just like aimlessly searching through the rock and you're digging through stuff, and of course that's all dependent on how much is actually available to find. How long am I going to have to punch through to be able to find all this stuff? But it seems to be there's quite a bit of stuff, and there's also quite a bit of moves. Like they showed off a lot of his different kinds of techniques. Obviously, he can punch, but he can also like do dives. He also does this really cool like roll and like surfing kind of thing that he can do. So typical Donkey Kong, he's got a lot of moves and techniques at his disposal. It's not just punch and kick. He can do a whole bunch of other things like that. The destruction mechanic looks really good. I am hoping that they can get the frame rate up by the time the game actually releases, because I heard some people say when they had hands-on at the Switch event in New York, they said that the frame rate kind of tanked a little bit time and again. So hopefully, like, there's no frame rate issues while you're interacting or destroying this planet. They did also showcase a lot of the enemies, and a lot of the enemies are also destructible, and you can use the enemies like body parts and like throw them back at the enemies. So there's a lot more moves and abilities that kind of free up the creativity of the player quite a bit more. So you're not quite limited to just what I thought, which is just punching and just generalized destruction. It seems like they've really put a lot of thought into it. You can pick items up, you can target enemies and throw them at them. There's also different kinds you can throw. You can throw bombs, depending on what you're throwing will also impact like how the environment reacts to what you've thrown and where you've thrown it. So it could be really interesting. I'm starting to see more of the possibilities of what you could do, or what you eventually can do in this game. And I really enjoy the creativity of Nintendo's side, where they just sort of, like with Breath of the Wild, they just kind of give you the tools and say, all right, go nuts, just kind of do it. So I'm glad that Donkey Kong is going to get that kind of an experience, and I'm hoping that there's a lot more to it than they've already shown us. I don't know. That's definitely got me rethinking what this game is, which is, of course, what they were probably aiming for with this Direct. Introduce the game and now really kind of show us what's possible, and then now we can just let our imaginations, run wild. Another interesting thing I thought about this Direct was the characters. They really showcased a lot of, like, not just like the NPCs of the area and like the different characters that you can talk to and get information from, but they showcased some of the bigger characters that I'm assuming have massive, like, story implications. I am glad to see Cranky Kong and Rambi are both back. I don't know what they're going to do. It doesn't look like you can ride Rambi. I think he's just like with Cranky. But they've got these weird giant elderly beasts. Like, to me they look like they're going to be like the divine beasts. Because once you meet them, or once you like free them, or whatever that process is, Pauline like will sing a song or something and probably maybe wake them up. And then you'll get the ability from that giant creature thing, that divine beast. So it looks like it's going to be a similar kind of, mechanic as the divine beast in Breath of the Wild. When you go to that giant divine beast, you do a puzzle, and maybe you beat a boss, and you free the divine beast, and now that divine beast is going to help you fight Ganon at the end of the game. It looks like once you free these older creatures, you'll be able to use their power, and they'll probably like die and you'll like absorb them, but then you can like build up the meter and like use their special abilities like flying or like super speed, and you'll be able to go back to other areas in the map that you previously have unlocked, and now you can get those pieces and do all that kind of stuff, which is classic Nintendo. So I'm really looking forward to those mechanics. I had no idea that you were going to be able to unlock that kind of stuff. I'm just wondering how many there's going to be. They only showed, I think, 3 in the trailer, but I got the feeling there's going to be a few more. I'm thinking maybe 5, maybe 6. In addition to that, talking about the characters, you can't talk about the characters without talking about the enemies. The enemies are really interesting this time around. I can't quite tell if those, like, block or stone characters are enemies, or are those like NPCs to help you. But the enemies that they showcased, like the main bosses, those just scream Mario Odyssey to me. They really feel like Mario Odyssey enemies, like those rabbits from that game. They kind of have that kind of vibe. And I'm assuming that, I think they only showed like 3 of them, and I'm assuming that every time you come to a new world, one of those guys will be in that world, kind of like Odyssey, and you're going to have to make your way to the end of the level, fight them and free it in order to like unlock the portal or whatever to get you farther down into the planet, because you're trying to get to the planet core, and they have put up a bunch of roadblocks, and they have sort of stopped you from being able to continue. So you're going to like have to beat those bosses in order to continue to go down. And I don't know, why do you have to go to the planet core to get her back to the surface? I don't know. Like I said, they'll probably explain it, but boss battles look really interesting. They've got like these giant mech things that you can fight, which look really cool, which I'm assuming are like piloted by one of those 3 characters. So it's not going to be the same like rinse and repeat problem that I think that we had there. But anyway, it also does look like the main collectible in this game is these golden banana things, which is really interesting. I don't know if that's going to be like a currency, or if that's going to be what unlocks certain areas. Like, hey, you can't get to this area without this many golden bananas. I don't quite know what those do yet. They may have mentioned it, but I don't know. It just kind of looks like the arbitrary, like a star. It's a Mario star, it looks like, basically. And you just collect them, and, you'll probably be able to go farther the more bananas you get, or something, whatever. The cool thing that I like, though, is that Breath of the Wild shrines are back in this. So you go into like a little shrine area or a little challenge area, and there's specific little challenges that have nothing to do with the planet. So whatever the planet is, you're kind of constricted as to what you can do there. But once you enter a shrine, the shrine could be anything, right? Like you've got to do this or you've got to do that. And some of these things are actually 2D, which is awesome. So it's kind of got some little Donkey Kong Country vibes to that, which is awesome. I love it when Nintendo like breaks up the gameplay and it's not all the same thing the entire time. I'm really excited to see that. Super, super pumped for that. Another thing that I'm extremely excited about that they announced during this was the character upgrades. So it's kind of got a little bit of like RPG mechanics with this. So like, I guess maybe that's what the bananas are for, is that once you get a certain number of bananas, you unlock these skill points and you can choose, hey, do you want more health or do you want a stronger punch? Or the one that I liked that they showed was they were like, you can like sniff out collectibles. So like you can see through the walls and say, oh, there's a golden banana over there. I'm going to go snag that. And it's like, dude, that is fantastic. I love that. Because that's my biggest concern about this game is like, I'm going to have to punch through all the rocks to get all this stuff. And it's like, oh man, that's going to be brutal. That's going to take just forever to find all of these items and stuff like that. And speaking of the items, it looks like you've got these like little banana coin kinds of things. And then it looks like, I'm not sure exactly what those do, but you trade those in, I guess, for like golden bananas or whatever. But the big thing that I love is the costumes. The costumes look fantastic. Once again, it's got like a Mario Odyssey kind of costume sort of vibe. And you can like change your costume depending on the world that you're in and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely love that. The other kind of cool thing about these costumes is that apparently they have like benefits. So if you're wearing the costume that's like kind of like a swimming thing, you can swim farther or hold your breath longer or something like that. So the costumes actually like matter this time. Like in Odyssey, that was only aesthetics. Oh, look, he's in a thing. This, it looks like there's actual like perks and buffs for these like costumes for certain things, which is really, really cool, which means you're going to want to unlock a lot of these with a lot of different techniques, which is pretty sweet. Another thing I'm glad that they added was a map. So there are treasure maps. There's a really nice extensive list for all the stuff that you need to find in the world. So you're not just aimlessly walking through this whole planet like, okay, do I have it all? Do I not have it all? I'm having that problem right now with Mario Kart World, where it's like, did I do this already? I don't know. Thankfully, they've given us a whole list. We're all good to go. No problems. Like, you know, no issues there. I'm super happy about that. It also looks like there's like plenty of like just boring things. I don't want to say boring, but just like non-story things to do, like collecting music, or like you can build like a little house to like chill and hang out in. That's really cool. And thankfully, like in this world, there is like a fast travel like option to where, hey, I need to go back to this other thing. You can get like eaten by an eel or something and fast travel all the way back to where you want to go or something. I think that's really, really cool, because my first question was like, with Mario Odyssey, you just jump at the Odyssey, but without that, how am I going to get back to these other layers? Like once you're there, can you not go back? But thankfully there is fast travel. I'm super happy about that. Another thing that I was super surprised about was they gave us a co-op option. When they first said co-op, I kind of rolled my eyes, because I thought of, once again, Mario Odyssey co-op, which is you just play as Cappy and you basically do absolutely nothing. And it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Pauline looks like it's kind of similar. She just like shoots out words or rocks or whatever, but she can actually pick what those words are made of. So if she encounters something harder or tougher, like, you know, she'll be able to use that instead of just one standard thing. So there's a little bit of strategy there. The big cool thing about the co-op that I absolutely love is that Game Share works with this. And not only does Game Share work with this, you'd think, oh, it's just going to be Switch 2 to Switch 2. No. You can play Nintendo Switch 2 and a Nintendo Switch 1 together. So if I've got a buddy of mine who doesn't have a Switch 2, we can play this game together, co-op. That's incredible. How is that going to work? Are they going to have to download something, or is it just going to stream from my game? Or from my console? it looks really wild. As soon as they announced that, I was like, "What is this?" I had no clue how that was going to work, but I definitely got to try that out because my wife still has her original Switch, and so we'll have to give that a shot because I'm really curious as to how that's going to work. That could open up so much more of the gameplay options for this. Another interesting thing was the DK artist mode, which it was funny. The last video I posted was talking about how I've got nothing to do with the mouse mode, and here Donkey Kong comes with a really interesting mouse mode kind of feature. I'm not too sure how much I'm going to use this. Initially they were showing Donkey Kong with like a mohawk with like a tentacle head or something, and I was like, oh no, like hopefully you can't share these, because I could see a lot of people making not safe for work stuff with this. But the big excitement for me was the amiibo. Amiibo is back. They got an awesome Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo, which I will be buying day one or as soon as I possibly can. I skip most of the amiibos these days, but every once in a while when they make something good and cool and interesting looking like this one, I will pick it up. I like it when a brand new game comes out and it's just got one really solid amiibo. And it's like, it's easy. I mean, like the Breath of the Wild amiibo, they make so many of those things. I can't keep up with all that. But the one amiibo, I can do. I can handle the one amiibo. But anyway, I think that's about all that they showed off for Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm really glad they did not show more, because honestly, I don't want to see more. I think that this looks fantastic as is. Don't show me any more. Let's just, wait another month for the game to come out. I do not have it pre-ordered right now, but I got to tell you what, this weekend I'm going to go down to my game store and snag me a little pre-order and make sure I've got my copy locked in and ready to go, because I was initially like 50-50 on this, and you know what? This Direct really changed my mind. I'll try not to be too judgy with future Nintendo Directs, because this one was very impressive. It showed me a lot of interesting stuff I had not considered, and even the story is a little interesting. Some of the music is to me a little weird, but I don't know. I'm interested to find out more about like Pauline and Donkey Kong and what this story's going to be. But yeah, Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out next month. Yeah, I'm actually really super excited about this. So I don't know. Let me know. What do you guys think about this? What do you think of the amiibo? What do you think of the game? I mean, am I off base here? Leave your comments below. But as always, take care of each other out there.